Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Prime Minister's office. Today, the Prime Minister and Chancellor will be giving a statement each. Following that, they will both take questions. One question from the Israeli outlets will be for the, wait, not now. First of all, the statements. And one question from the foreign outlets for each, 4 altogether. This press conference will be held in English, so please ask the questions in English. That's it. Just your patience. The Prime Minister and the Chancellor will be in shortly. Thank you.
Vielen Dank. Ja, meine Damen und Herren, zunächst möchte ich dem Premierminister von Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, sehr herzlich Dank sagen für die Gastfreundschaft und für das sehr ausführliche und sehr lange Gespräch. Dies ist nicht mein erster Besuch hier im Haus, aber das ist mein erster Besuch als Bundeskanzler und insofern ein besonderer Antrittsbesuch. Ich komme als ein Freund des Landes, als ein Freund Israels, der weiß, dass die Freundschaft zwischen Deutschland und Israel unendlich wertvoll und kostbar ist. Und sie wird auch niemals selbstverständlich sein. Und wir werden immer auch an die Vergangenheit denken, wenn wir uns in der Gegenwart treffen und über die Zukunft miteinander sprechen. Mein Besuch fällt in eine schwere Zeit für das israelische Volk und auch in vielschichtige Zeiten für die Beziehungen zwischen unseren beiden Ländern. Deshalb komme ich später, als ich eigentlich gewünscht habe. Und deshalb will ich einige ganz grundsätzliche Worte zu unseren Beziehungen sagen. Ich habe den Tag mit Bedacht in Yad Vashem begonnen. Ich habe dort der 6 Millionen Männer, Frauen und Kinder aus ganz Europa gedacht, die von Deutschen ermordet wurden, weil sie Juden waren. Das Trauma der Shoah ist ein unauslöschlicher Teil der israelischen Identität. Auch für die Identität meines Landes bleibt sie prägend und sie muss auch prägend bleiben. Wir werden die Erinnerung immer lebendig halten an dieses monströse Verbrechen, das Deutsche am jüdischen Volk begangen haben. In Yad Vashem, an diesem Ort, ist mit Händen zu greifen, welche bleibende historische Verantwortung Deutschland trägt. Deutschland wird deshalb immer für die Existenz und die Sicherheit Israels einstehen. Das gehört zum unveränderlichen Wesenskern unserer Beziehungen. Das gilt für heute, das gilt für morgen und das gilt für immer. Und nun nach den schrecklichen Terroranschlägen der Hamas am 7. Oktober 2023 hat sich Deutschland erneut und klar fest an die Seite Israels gestellt. Wir haben mit dem israelischen Volk um die Toten getrauert. Wir haben mit ihnen um die Geiseln gebangt und gerungen, unter denen auch zahlreiche deutsche Staatsangehörige waren. Israel hat das Recht und geradezu die Pflicht, seine Bürger und seine Existenz gegen diejenigen zu verteidigen, die dem demokratischen jüdischen Staat das Existenzrecht immer wieder absprechen. Kein Staat kann es hinnehmen, dass seine Bürger, wie etwa in den Kibbuzim um Gaza, von islamistischen Terroristen ermordet, entführt und gefoltert werden. Deshalb haben wir ihnen beigestanden, auch als sich im Verlauf des Gaza-Krieges viele abgewandt haben. Im Verlaufe dieses langen Krieges hat uns aber das Vorgehen der israelischen Regierung auch in ein gewisses Dilemma geführt. Deutschland muss für Israels Sicherheit einstehen. Und Deutschland muss für Menschenwürde und Recht einstehen, die den Kern unserer Verfassung, gerade nach Shoah und Weltkrieg, ausmachen. Als Land im Krieg, als demokratischer Rechtsstaat musste sich Israel in seinem militärischen Vorgehen eben auch am Völkerrecht messen lassen. Dabei dürfen wir zugleich nie vergessen, von wem die Aggression ausging, der militanten Hamas, die sich eben nicht um Menschenleben und Völkerrecht schert. Angesichts des schweren Leids, das die Zivilbevölkerung Gazas erfahren hat, mussten wir hier auch Zeichen setzen. Inzwischen haben wir, dank der Vermittlung von Präsident Trump, einen Waffenstillstand in Gaza. Es gibt immer wieder Rückschläge, aber der Krieg, der 2 Jahre lang gewütet hat, ist zu Ende. Und ein Frieden, ein dauerhafter Frieden ist möglich. Die Heimkehr der letzten überlebenden Geiseln, unter ihnen deutsche Staatsangehörige, hat uns berührt und auch beglückt. Jetzt muss gelingen, und darüber haben wir beide gesprochen, die zweite Phase des Friedensplans zu verwirklichen. Deutschland hilft. Wir haben Offiziere und Diplomaten in das zivil-militärische Zentrum in Kiryat Gat entsandt. Wir leisten humanitäre Unterstützung für die Menschen in Gaza, die weiter unter sehr prekären Umständen leben. Wir werden zum Wiederaufbau beitragen. Vor allem werden wir uns weiter diplomatisch engagieren, damit der Frieden kommt. Dabei steht fest, es kann in Gaza keine Rolle für die Hamas geben. Von Gaza darf eben keine Gefahr für Israel mehr ausgehen. Wir dürfen jetzt nicht zu kurz springen und denken. Nach den Traumata des Krieges, die Israelis wie Palästinenser durchlitten haben, müssen wir das Fundament einer neuen Ordnung hier in der Region legen. Einer neuen Ordnung, in der Israelis, Palästinenser und arabische Nachbarn dauerhaft in Frieden, Freiheit, Sicherheit und Würde leben können. Wir arbeiten mit an dem Ziel eines neuen Nahen Ostens, in dem auch der Staat Israel als Teil seiner selbst anerkannt wird und auch angenommen wird. Unsere Überzeugung lautet, die perspektivische Gründung eines palästinensischen Staats an der Seite Israels eröffnet vermutlich die beste Aussicht auf eben diese Zukunft. Eine Zwei-Staaten-Lösung wird sich nur durch Verhandlungen verwirklichen lassen und sie wird am Ende dieser Verhandlungen stehen. Aber diese Verhandlungen sind eben jetzt notwendig. Die deutsche Bundesregierung bleibt bei ihrer Auffassung, dass die Anerkennung eines palästinensischen Staates am Ende und nicht am Anfang eines solchen Prozesses stehen kann. Die Bundesregierung leistet deshalb der palästinensischen Autonomiebehörde Hilfen. Man kann diese Behörde in vielem zu Recht kritisieren. Ich tue das auch. Ich habe darüber auch gestern Morgen mit Präsident Abbas gesprochen. Aber gerade jetzt, da es Reformansätze gibt, sollten wir unterstützen. Zur Wahrheit gehört auch, meine Damen und Herren, dass es aus unserer Sicht keine Annexionsschritte im Westjordanland geben kann, keine formellen, keine politischen, baulichen oder sonstigen Maßnahmen, die in ihrer Wirkung auf eine Annexion hinauslaufen. Nun lassen Sie mich abschließend noch ein Wort zur deutschen Debatte über Israel hinzufügen, die in den letzten Monaten geführt worden ist. Kritik an der israelischen Regierung ist möglich und manchmal vielleicht sogar notwendig. Das ist so zwischen freien Gesellschaften und offenen Demokratien. Das halten die Beziehungen zwischen Deutschland und Israel auch aus. Aber Kritik an der Politik der israelischen Regierung darf nicht als Vorwand für Antisemitismus missbraucht werden, schon gar nicht in Deutschland. Auch das zählt zu unserer geschichtlichen Verantwortung. Ich wünsche dem israelischen Volk, dass nun nach schweren Jahren von Terror und Krieg eine bessere Zeit beginnt. Ich wünsche es Ihnen, Herr Ministerpräsident, dir, lieber Bibi, dass die Entscheidungen getroffen werden, die zu Frieden und guter Nachbarschaft in der Region beitragen. Deutschland wird dabei, wie ich gesagt habe, in tiefer Freundschaft an der Seite dieses Landes stehen und ich persönlich auch. Herzlichen Dank noch einmal für die großartige Gastfreundschaft und für das gute Gespräch, das wir miteinander hatten.
Thank you, Chancellor Friedrich. It's good to welcome you and your delegation to Jerusalem, not for the first time, but as you say, the first time as Chancellor. We had the opportunity between these visits to speak many times on the phone. And I have to tell you, I speak to many world leaders. When I speak to Friedrich Merz, it's an open, honest conversation, even when we have disagreements, and often we have agreements. But these are open conversations between friends and people who respect each other. I have to say that I took note not only of our differences, but also the forthright statements that you made about what Israel is doing for the rest of humanity. You said that during the Rising Lion operation, our 12-day war with Iran. You said it just now in Ankara, quite forcefully. And I think these and other statements are very important because they reflect a deeper commitment which expresses the intertwined destinies of Israel and Germany. We went through the greatest tragedy that any people suffered on German soil and committed by Germans. And the generations that followed the Holocaust were understood that there was a special moral commitment to enable the Jewish state, the Jewish people, to recover from this horror. And Germany was committed and remains committed to Israel's security in many important ways. What has happened since the rise of the Jewish state is that we have been able to fend off our enemies, and in order to do that, we developed capacities that now enable us to reciprocate. Not only does Germany work in the defense of Israel, but Israel, the Jewish state, 80 years after the Holocaust, works for the defense of Germany. And that is a historical change that comes at the time of great international turbulence and change. We discussed the ways that we can continue this defense cooperation in a changing world. But it's not only cooperation in military matters. We discussed the cooperation in technological matters. Israel and Germany are two of the most advanced economies in the world. We have extraordinary people, extraordinarily gifted people, and in the field of high technology, high tech, deep tech, AI, quantum, all these things that are going to change the face of this planet and the future of humanity. These are things where we are ranked very high. But together, cooperating in this, we'll rank even higher. There's not much space to go. But I think that working together, we can not only better the citizens of Israel and Germany, but I think we can better the world and our immediate neighborhood, the Middle East. So we discussed that, and we are ready to seize the future together. This will help peace. We are at the point where we believe that peace opportunities are at hand. The Iran axis has been battered. It was the major engine of disruption in the negative sense, of terrorism, of extremism and fanaticism, and it's definitely been relegated to a back seat. So now opportunities for peace are there. We tend to exploit them. I'm going to discuss them with President Trump when I meet him later on this month, but we discuss them as well. And we discuss, of course, how to bring an end to the Hamas rule in Gaza, because that's an essential part of ensuring a different future for Gaza and a different future for us facing Gaza. We finished the first part, as you know, phase one. We're almost there. We have one more hostage deceased, Hani Gvili, a hero of Israel, to return here. And then we, very shortly, expect to move into the second phase, which is more difficult, or equally difficult. I would say more difficult because nobody believed that with our combined action, Israel's military action in Gaza City and President Trump's effective diplomatic action in bringing the Arab and Muslim world to press Hamas to give up the hostages, nobody believed that we would achieve it, but we did. And now we have a second phase, no less daunting, and that is to achieve the disarmament of Hamas and the demilitarization of Gaza. And as I mentioned to the Chancellor, there's a third phase, and that is to de-radicalize Gaza, something that also people believed was impossible. But it was done in Germany. It was done in Japan. It's done in the Gulf states. It can be done in Gaza too. But of course, Hamas has to be dismantled. These are challenges in front of us, but we do not shirk from them. We think we have great opportunities. I think Israel, the people of Israel, the soldiers of Israel, have demonstrated amazing resilience and amazing courage. We have fought a seven-front war against malign forces led by Iran that are openly committed to annihilate us. This 8 decades after the Holocaust, an openly declared attempt to annihilate the Jewish state. Imagine that you had an openly declared attempt to annihilate Germany, or an openly declared attempt to annihilate France, or Austria, or any other country. Israel, faced with that, obviously mustered its resources and fought a just war with just means. We are undergoing vilification on a historic scale for the last 80 years, but not for the Jewish people. We've been maligned through centuries. In the Middle Ages, in Germany, and throughout medieval Europe, we were accused of poisoning the wells, of slaughtering Christian children to use their blood to bake Passover matzahs. We were carrying vermin. These were the accusations that were always preceded the actual annihilation that followed. And Jews were attacked, they suffered pogroms, they suffered expulsions, and they suffered wholesale massacres from a large, very large swath, from Spain to Ukraine. Enormous vilifications, enormous attacks, culminating in the greatest massacre of them all, the Holocaust. What has happened since? We thought, some thought, actually I didn't, but some thought, that anti-Semitism was gone. It's not gone. That cyclical phenomena of attacking the Jews in ways that prepare their destruction, delegitimize them, was transferred from the Jewish people to the Jewish state. We just took a respite, a few decades, where anti-Semitism was not done in polite company. Now it's done in every capital. And people carry the flags of Hamas. Flags of Hamas. These people who tortured women, raped them, then beheaded them, burnt children alive, babies alive, took hostages, Holocaust survivors, babies. This is outrageous. People demonstrate for them and accuse Israel of bogus war crimes because Israel has gone to lengths that no army in history has done in the most difficult urban situation, urban warfare situation, asking the population to leave, and Hamas shooting them to keep them there so the casualties can appear on the various international networks. I understand the enormous effect this has on the publics in Germany and Europe and to some extent America. But I will tell you, as I told the Chancellor, there's one big difference. We may not be able to control that, but we have changed Jewish history in the sense that those who vilify us can no longer annihilate us. Because when they come to do that, as they did on October 7th, we roll them back. And as they try to put a noose of death around us, as Iran tried with its proxies, we roll them back. That's the big difference. And I think this truth will emanate, and I commend the Chancellor for speaking the truth in a number of important occasions. But we still have a job to do to explain what it is we're fighting, how we're fighting it, and why we're doing what we're doing is not only for our defense, but for Germany's defense, and the defense of free societies everywhere, and I will say our non-radical Arab neighbors as well. In fact, they understand it better than most. On the question of two states, now we have a different point of view, obviously, because the purpose of a Palestinian state is to destroy the one and only Jewish state. They already had a state in Gaza, a de facto state, and it was used to try to destroy the one and only Jewish state. We believe there's a path to advance a broader peace with the Arab states and a path also to establish a workable peace with our Palestinian neighbors. But we're not going to create a state that will be committed to our destruction at our doorstep. And as you know, Israel is gigantic. It's 50 kilometers wide, 70 kilometers wide at its widest point. And we are obviously going to take care of our security. The one thing that we will always insist upon is that the sovereign power of security from the Jordan River, which is right here, to the Mediterranean Sea, which is right there, that will always remain in Israel's hands. And that means that Israel will control its destiny and continue to protect its security for our sake and for others as well. I have to say, Friedrich, I think we're at the cusp of a new age, because I think that we will achieve the expansion of peace. I think that we are at a new age because I think that the possibilities of technology, with their risks, especially in AI, but with their positive benefits, are enormous in every field. I mean, from agriculture to health to transportation and I think that we are together, we can lead this and become not a secondary power, but a primary power in the advance of humanity. I look forward to our discussions, and I have to say that your wife was supposed to come here. Bring her next time. It'll be an opportune moment to expand on these things. So welcome Welcome, Friedrich. Welcome, friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We'll start with the questions from the forum, please.
Prime Minister, following up your words and what the Chancellor has just said, he asked you not to take any steps which could lead to annexation of parts of the West Bank. So my question for you would be, can you guarantee that you are not taking these steps? One can have some doubts after what you just said about security for Israel. Und Bundeskanzler, können Sie bitte kommentieren, wenn Herr Netanyahu eine Zwei-Staaten-Lösung ablehnt? Wie ist dann aus Ihrer Sicht eine Friedenslösung hier in dieser Region überhaupt möglich? Danke.
In fact, there is no change of the status quo. Israel today controls the security between the Jordan River and the sea. If you're not aware of it, you should be, because that is the situation. That's why you don't have terrorism exploding from Judea, Samaria, from the Palestinian areas. In fact, we brought it down considerably because we are the power that is ultimately charged with overall security. So that's what we're doing. And I said that principle in the foreseeable future will stay. It has nothing to do with the question of political annexation. That remains a subject of discussion, but as you know, we have been able to forge peace treaties with that issue that was always raised. You're never going to expand peace because you're always going to have to go around or through the acceptance of the PA. If the PA doesn't agree, you're not going to have any Arab country come. That's what I was told before we signed the Abraham Accords with 4 Arab states. And in fact, the way we got it is we went around the PA because the PA is not interested in peace with Israel. They're interested in a peace without Israel. They don't want a Palestinian state next to Israel. They want a Palestinian state instead of Israel. So I think that everybody says, well, they'll change. Well, we'll see. If they'll change, I doubt it. I mean, the Trump plan has many stages that they have to go through. But I think that for most Israelis, we want peaceful relations with our Palestinian neighbors. They have to stop educating their children for the murder of Israel. They have to stop paying for slaves. They pay, the more Palestinians, the more they kill Jews, the more they get paid. And they have to stop naming their public squares against mass killers. We're in the compound of the Israeli government. It's not named after killers. It's not named after people who committed mass murder. There has to be a change. And I can tell you that most Israelis now, if you ask them, okay, would you want a Palestinian state? Okay, we asked that question in the Knesset. There are 120 members in the Knesset. And the question was, suppose they try to force us on us a Palestinian state. You know what the vote was? It was 99 to 11, 10 abstentions. That includes the broadest spectrum of Israeli politics that you can imagine. After October 7th, people say, you know, what will be different? You had a de facto Palestinian state in Gaza. What did they use it for? So people ask this question, and I don't shirk from it. I tell you what it is. But you asked about concrete plans. That is not something that I think we're headed in the coming time. Well, it'll be a question that will be raised eventually, but not right away.
Ich kann vielleicht direkt an dem letzten Satz anschließen. Keiner weiß, was die nächsten Tage, Wochen und Monate bringen und ergeben. Das Wichtigste ist jetzt, dass mit Gaza und dieser Region in die zweite Phase eingetreten werden kann. Und das Wichtigste ist die vollständige Entwaffnung der Hamas. Mein Eindruck ist, dass die palästinensische Autonomiebehörde heute bereit ist, Reformen zu ermöglichen. Das sind aber bis jetzt nur Erklärungen. Das sind keine Taten. Deswegen habe ich auch mit Präsident Abbas gestern Morgen noch telefoniert und ihm auch gesagt, dass ich nach Israel reise, ihm auch meine Position zu Israel deutlich gemacht. Und jetzt geht es darum, Schritt für Schritt diesen Friedensplan zu implementieren. Und was an dessen Ende steht, weiß heute von uns niemand. Und weil das so ist, hat auch die Bundesregierung anders als andere europäische Staaten von einer frühzeitigen Anerkennung eines palästinensischen Staates Abstand genommen. Wir werden das auch in absehbarer Zukunft nicht tun, weil diesem Staat, in Anführungsstriche, bis jetzt alle Voraussetzungen fehlen, um ein selbstständiger Staat überhaupt sein zu können. Noch einmal, was am Ende eines solchen Prozesses steht, weiß niemand von uns. Wichtig ist, dass es einen Weg gibt, der den Staat Israel in Sicherheit, in Frieden leben lässt und dass es Nachbarn gibt, die das anerkennen. Einige haben das bereits getan, andere tun es bis heute nicht. Und dann müssen sich die Palästinenser selbst eines Tages entscheiden, welchen Weg sie gehen wollen. Deswegen aus heutiger Sicht, es ist zu früh, darüber eine endgültige Entscheidung zu treffen. Es ist eine Hoffnung, die sich vielleicht erfüllt, vielleicht aber auch nicht.
Prime Minister Netanyahu, the framework to end the war in Gaza. Tamir Morag, Channel 14. The framework to end the war in Gaza allowed Hamas 72 hours to release all the hostages, alive and dead. We are now almost 72 days past this deadline. How much longer are you going to allow Hamas? Is there a deadline to move forward to the second phase that includes disarming Hamas? And perhaps more importantly, how are you going to settle the differences with the Trump administration regarding the timeline of disarming Hamas? Because we know that Israeli officials have been talking about no more than a few months, while Americans have been talking about a much more flexible timeline that can stretch up to a year. And the question to the Chancellor, please. Given the terrible history of Germany and the Jewish people, can you make a commitment that at least during your tenure we will not see any more arms embargo by Germany against the Jewish state?
There is one more hostage left. We had 255 hostages, most of them alive, by the way. We got them out, and the deceased hostages. One left, Rani Gvili, just a hero. I mean, he fought against these murderers, killed 12 of them, and was down to the last bullet, and he died. And he was killed, and his body was taken to Gaza, and we're committed to getting him back. I'm talking to his family all the time. They're amazing people. We'll get him out. We're close to the second phase. And I think that you asked pertinent questions about what will be the timeline, what are the forces that are coming in, will we have the international forces? If not, what are the alternatives? These are all topics that are being discussed, but I haven't seen yet a clear delineation of what you say is the American position, which is contrary to our position. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to talk to President Trump about. In the meantime, as I said, while humanitarian aid is there, it's flowing, it's not a problem. There is a problem that is there, and that is Hamas violations, including yesterday. They try to cross into our lines. They try to attack our soldiers. Obviously, we respond, and respond forcefully. So I think simultaneous with the advance to the second stage, I think it's important to make sure that Hamas complies, not only with the ceasefire, but also with their commitment, which they undertook, to disarm and have Gaza demilitarized. That's not something that is not part of something that they committed to. They committed to it. And so I think we'll be having very important conversations at the end of the month on how to ensure that this second stage is achieved. We're about to finish the first stage. We're there, almost. But we have to make sure that we achieve the same results in the second stage, and that's something I look forward to discussing with President Trump.
Die Entscheidung, die ich am 8. August 2025 getroffen habe, war den besonderen Umständen dieser Tage und Wochen geschuldet. Die Umstände haben sich geändert und deswegen gilt diese Entscheidung auch nicht fort. Das ist auch von der Regierung, auch von mir persönlich öffentlich gemacht worden. Und trotz dieser Entscheidung, die auf einen besonderen Sachverhalt ausgerichtet war, hat sich vorher und nachher an unserer sehr grundsätzlichen Haltung zu Israel und zur Sicherheit Israels, zur Unterstützung Israels, auch zur militärischen Unterstützung Israels nichts geändert. Und ich gehe davon aus, dass das nicht nur während meiner Amtszeit so bleibt, sondern dass dies jeden Bundeskanzler der Bundesrepublik Deutschland angesichts unserer Geschichte auch in den nächsten Jahrzehnten weiter binden wird. Daran wird sich nach meinem festen Willen niemals etwas ändern.
Thank you. Michael Fischer, German Press Agency. Herr Bundeskanzler, das ist ja Ihr Antrittsbesuch in Israel als Regierungschef. Bei solchen Antrittsbesuchen ist es ja eigentlich üblich, den Gastgeber zu einem Gegenbesuch einzuladen. Haben Sie Ministerpräsident Netanyahu nach Deutschland eingeladen, obwohl es einen internationalen Haftbefehl gegen ihn gibt? Sie haben ja mehrfach gesagt, dass ein israelischer Ministerpräsident immer die Möglichkeit haben muss, Deutschland zu besuchen. And Prime Minister, how important is it for you to get an invitation to Germany as your most important European ally? And a quick question to both of you. If a peacekeeping troop would be deployed to Gaza, should Germany be ready to take part?
Herr Fischer, wir haben über die Frage einer möglichen Reise von Premierminister Netanyahu nach Deutschland nicht gesprochen. Dafür gibt es im Augenblick auch keine Veranlassung, darüber zu sprechen. Wenn es die Zeit erlaubt, dann würde ich gegebenenfalls eine solche Einladung aussprechen. Aber das ist zum jetzigen Zeitpunkt für uns beide kein Thema.
Well, of course, I'd be delighted to visit Germany again and speak there with the Chancellor, bring our government together, G2G. I think that's important. The reason we're not going there is because there's an ICC prosecutor. Prosecutor issued arrest warrants for me and for our former defense minister. He was supposed to come here, and he was saying how important that visit would be because Israel has an open system, one that works according to the rule of law. He was saying very positive things. And on the day that he was supposed to come here, he canceled abruptly. And we didn't know. Why did he do it? Well, it turned out, when we discovered this a few months later, that a few days before, one of his staff members came in and said, there's another staff member, a woman, and you sexually harassed her for a long time, and she's complaining. By the way, she's very hostile to Israel, very hostile, okay? But he ruined her life. And apparently Karim Khan sat and said, I'm ruined. His brother, who was a conservative member of parliament in Britain, was jailed for pedophilia, okay? So, and he saw what happened to a rising career of his brother and was sentenced to jail. So he said, I'm ruined. Well, he thought very quickly, and he came to the solution that relates to what I discussed before. All you have to do is bash Israel. And if you can bash Bibi, that helps too. So that's exactly what he did. He canceled his trip and came up with these trumped-up charges of starvation and genocide and so on, all these things that can be literally disproven. But he was going to investigate them, and he didn't. He came out and immediately went on the tube because he wanted to deflect these charges from him, and which he did because they eventually came out, by the way, from other women too. So this is a corrupt prosecutor that is destroying the reputation of the ICC and causing many people to say, is this the organization that was supposed to follow the Holocaust? This was the organization that was set up to make sure that nothing like this ever happened. What happened to the Jews never happens again. And then when Israel is fighting for its life against people who are cutting off our heads literally, it accuses Israel. And basically that's what it does. It accuses Israel. Our soldiers, our brave soldiers who are fighting, many of them losing their lives going into booby-trapped buildings in order to save lives. So I think that this is outrageous. The ICC has a lot of corrections to do about itself. And one of them is obviously to get rid of these ridiculous charges. But until it does, there is a question that arises in well-meaning countries and well-meaning governments of how subordinate they are, their judiciaries are to these absurd charges. And I recognize that. But I guess that since we're overcoming so many things and doing the impossible, this is in the realm of the possible, and probably sooner than you think.
Sorry, one last question.
Anna
Yeah,
Balskinori
peacekeeping.
newspaper. Mr. Chancellor, does Germany oppose the European Commission's proposal to suspend parts of the trade and cooperation agreement with Israel? Thank you very much, sir.
Ja. Vielleicht kann ich in dem Zusammenhang gleich die zweite Frage von Herrn Fischer noch mit beantworten. Wir sind bereits engagiert in der zivil-militärischen Zusammenarbeit. Wir wollen jetzt, so haben wir es verabredet, abwarten das Ergebnis der Gespräche, das Ministerpräsident Netanyahu mit dem amerikanischen Präsidenten noch in diesem Jahr führen wird. Und ich habe unsere grundsätzliche Bereitschaft natürlich erklärt, an vielen Dingen teilzunehmen, die auch einen Wiederaufbau von Gaza ermöglichen. Wir wollen das Gespräch darüber fortsetzen, sobald klar ist, zu welchem Einsatz auch die amerikanische Regierung bereit ist. Denn Phase 2 muss jetzt kommen und dann muss Phase 3 ebenfalls in den Blick genommen werden. Welchen Beitrag wir dazu leisten können, würden wir auch danach entscheiden. Wir haben nach meinem gegenwärtigen Kenntnisstand eine Entscheidung über Sanktionen gegen Israel oder andere nicht auf der Tagesordnung des Europäischen Rates. Ich habe das in Deutschland deutlich gemacht und mache das auch hier deutlich. Wir haben kein Interesse daran, die Zusammenarbeit mit der Wirtschaft oder die Zusammenarbeit mit der Wissenschaft in Israel zu beschädigen. Im Gegenteil, wir sind daran interessiert, diese Zusammenarbeit zu vertiefen und zu intensivieren. Und deswegen gehe ich davon aus, dass es keinen zusätzlichen Entscheidungsbedarf auf der europäischen Ebene dazu gibt.
אדוני ראש הממשלה, אפשר שאלה לחנינה? האם אתה מתכוון לפרוש מהחיים הפוליטיים? האם אתה מקבל חנינה?
No.
אתה לא מתכוון לפרוש מהפוליטיקה?
And the last thing that I would say, they're very eager. They're very concerned with my future. They want to. They want to make sure that. How shall I say this? They're concerned with my future. Well, so are the voters, and they'll decide, obviously. But we have big tasks to do, including with Germany, in historic cooperation that will actually will, in many ways, tower over our previous cooperation, which was quite amazing. But that's not surprising because, as you can see, Chancellor Merz is a towering figure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Subscribe to OneIndia and never miss an update. Download the OneIndia app now.